in the upper 40s on Saturday. That's your weather update from the Storm Center.
Good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Really nice to have you along.
Give us an hour and we'll
All right, here we go.
we know. Fascinating talk shows around the clock. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9. The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio. Dispensing a daily dose of common sense, no prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage Show.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Great to have you along this Thursday morning, January 30th already. Horror in the sky. That is the headline at the New York Post this morning as we are watching, and you've heard updates from Fox News about this impact between a flight. There has been a search for survivors, which is underway in this American Airlines jet that collided with a military helicopter over Washington, D.C. And we're learning that several members of the U.S. figure skating team were on board this flight. So this happened near Reagan Washington National Airport late yesterday. The airport is closed through 11 a.m. Eastern time this morning. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that the Army and the Pentagon are investigating the collision. An investigation, he says, was launched immediately. Absolutely tragic. Search and rescue efforts still ongoing. Prayers for all impacted souls and their families, he said. So federal and local officials held news conferences early this morning, providing updates. The mayor of Washington, D.C., Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy were both there. Duffy was just confirmed. What a way to begin the job. The president sharing his thoughts on Truth Social. He said the crash should have been prevented, he said. He said the airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. He says it was a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do? Instead of asking if they saw the plane, said this is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented, not good. So again, Reagan Washington National Airport closed until 11 a.m. today. And this is going to certainly is, as you watch what's unfolding, is going to be the big story of the day. So this is just absolutely horrific seeing things like this happen. And unfortunately, and as you just heard from Fox News, folks entering that freezing water, hypothermia would set in fairly quickly. So again, prayers. Lots of folks affected by this. Also this morning, we've got a lot of stories to talk about. The federal funding freeze that was much in the news yesterday. They released a new memo yesterday, the Office of Management and Budget. So they released a new memo yesterday rescinding the one that was issued on Monday. And this is the one that froze then a wide swath of federal financial assistance and really caused a lot of uproar on Capitol Hill and beyond, because you had a number of, also on the local level, because there are a number of state and federal partnerships that were being affected by this. So you may have known people then in the state who were pretty affected by this and reacting to this. This was a big story. So that federal funding freeze has been rescinded. And the reversal was signed by the acting director of the White House Budget Office. One Republican senator said chaos is never good. I don't think it was designed to, and I disagree with that. I think chaos actually is, when it comes to government, is can be good. But the memo had stated that federal agencies must temporarily pause all activities and related to obligation or disbursement of federal funds, so on. The Carolyn Levitt yesterday said that Trump's executive orders stopping foreign assistance, terminating DEI programs, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and others that were referenced in the memo remain in full force and effect. So what OMB has done, again, rescinded their memo and trying to eliminate some of the confusion that's been out there. Also, yesterday, we had some pretty intense questioning of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. More than 3 hours of questions from senators on the Senate Finance Committee as he was at his first confirmation hearing yesterday. He will be back. They will be back at it again today. So more involving Robert F. Kennedy Jr. today. And did you have a chance to watch any of this? I was up in the studio. I was doing some work yesterday. This is after I was off the air, and late in the morning yesterday, I'm up in the studio and doing some things, and I happened to pop the audio down in so that I could take a listen. And it was, the Democrats really have got it in for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And again, I think he's kind of a different kind of cat myself. Whether he's the correct pick or not, I'll leave it to the U.S. Senate to decide. I really don't have an issue one way or the other involving Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Honestly, I'm not aware of that much about him to be able to say, well, this is what Kennedy has said previously, and this. But the Democrats were really going after him, and it's including, you've got his own cousin who was out there going after him, and it's like, wow. I mean, it's a little bit. It causes me to take another look at Kennedy and go, well, maybe I was too harsh, in my appraisal of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., given the way the Democrats are melting down over him. So he was facing questions on Medicare, his stance on vaccines. There was a lot of that I heard yesterday. One of Minnesota's senators who really was going after him hard. So he will return to Capitol Hill today. It'll be round 2, and he may be rethinking the wisdom of, because they were really going after him yesterday. And it's and honestly, as I listened to a lot of the questions, I just thought they were really unfair. There were questions that he couldn't answer. It's not as if he has, led this department. I think after you become the head of the department and you run it for a period of time, and then you go up in front of Congress, having tough questions is appropriate. You're coming in, you're a nominee, and they're expecting you to have absolute knowledge of. And I thought, is that really fair? Isn't the question, shouldn't it be, whether or not he's fit? Is he fit? That's certainly appropriate to pursue those angles, but That was, I think there'll be more fireworks today for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Also, Pete Hegseth, Donald Trump's new Secretary of Defense, he sat for his first interview since his confirmation. He sat down with Will Cain, one of his former colleagues, from Fox News. So he sat down with Will Cain. He said the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security will be in lockstep with the executive branch in order to stop criminal gangs, human trafficking, as well as other crimes. And he said, as you saw on day one from President Trump, executive orders reestablishing the military specifically, commitment to protecting territorial sovereignty of the southern border, which is a shift. The military has been in support of DHS and rightfully, in many ways, for a long time. We've allowed an invasion that needs to stop, he said. Also, we've got the new Secretary of Homeland Security, former Governor Kristi Noem, who said last night, she was talking about the Trump administration has stopped grant funding for NGOs. If you're not familiar with what an NGO is, it's non-governmental, operations, agencies, so on. A lot of the nonprofits, for instance, would be non-government organizations, these NGOs. And so Kristi Noem said, this was yesterday, she said, we're announcing that we've stopped all grant funding that's being abused by NGOs to facilitate illegal immigration into this country. Federal government, she said, has spent hundreds of millions of dollars and sent this money to NGOs. So I've taken action to stop those funds, to reevaluate them, and to make sure we're actually using the taxpayer dollars in a way that strengthens this country, that keeps us safe, Noem said. And she says an evaluation needs to be done to make sure that we're not spending another dime to help the destruction of this country. We're going to make sure that we follow through on what President Trump has promised, and that's to make sure that we're securing our border, deporting those who are here illegally and committing criminal actions, and that our taxpayer dollars aren't spent to help it. Wow, pretty incredible. Also, so as we talk about that, then with these people and the illegals who are in the country and they're illegal aliens in the country, Donald Trump now saying yesterday he's going to instruct the Pentagon to get Guantanamo Bay ready to house 30,000 illegals. So he announced this yesterday. It's going to be instructing the Pentagon to prepare Guantanamo Bay. He signed an executive order to do it. He said to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security. And he said to begin using the 30,000 person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it, Trump said. So it was not an executive order. What he signed was a presidential memorandum. I think initially it was that he had written an executive order, and that's not what it was. So Trump said of these criminal illegals, he said some of them are so bad, we don't even trust their countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back. We're going to send them to Guantanamo. It's a tough place to get out of. No question about that, I think. So he called on Congress to provide full funding for the complete total restoration of U.S. borders, financial support to remove these record numbers of illegal aliens. The president of Cuba reacting to this calling it an act of brutality, and keep your citizens in your own countries. Seriously, they're not U.S. citizens. Keep them in your own countries. Other stories I want to share. Meta, remember formerly Facebook, known as Facebook, now Meta, going to pay Donald Trump $25 million in order to settle a lawsuit over Trump's previously suspended social media accounts. So the settlement was filed yesterday in California. It says Meta has agreed to pay Trump $25 million, and Trump signed the settlement papers at the Oval Office. So, wow, that is just absolutely incredible. Donald Trump winning to the tune of $25 million over actions that Meta had taken against Trump. South Dakota has a new governor, and Kelloland TV has some really fascinating stories with Governor Roden, and he was talking about when he was during his time in the legislature. He's saying, well, the governor of South Dakota just held the door open for me so I could get into the Capitol. He's talking about former Governor Bill Janklow was holding the door open for Roden. And Roden talking about himself, he says he's fairly direct and blunt. And he said that Kristi Noem may have been even more so. And he said he'll be different from Kristi Noem. He said his leadership style, mostly politically, were very aligned. And I think obviously the circumstances that we're both in make our administrations look very different. She developed this national profile. She used that profile to benefit South Dakota. And he said that put her on a different trajectory than the one that he's on. He said, I don't have to worry about doing Fox News interviews, said the governor. So he was talking about civility in the legislature. And Kelloland TV asked him, how do you foster that civility? He said, I think the answer is simple. You lead by example. And our office, that's why I held the offer open that I'm going to be easy to find, he said. Talked about specific legislation. As you know, the state legislature currently underway. And the issue of the state penitentiary. And he said, I think if the legislators, if legislators still have questions, they need to make a trip to the penitentiary and get the tour that I did, he said. He was asked about eminent domain for carbon dioxide pipelines, and he didn't want to take a stand. He said, I'm going to stay out of the fray till I see what they're coming up with and what hits my desk. That's a pretty common, stance for, South Dakota governors to take, that they'll say, okay, I'm going to let the legislature debate this and I'm going to stay out of this. They don't always do that, but that's what they say. And that's what Governor Roden is also saying. Also, he has chosen his lieutenant governor, Tony Benheisen, who will be the new lieutenant governor. He is most recently represented District 13 in the State House of Representatives. And he has been serving in state government for quite a period of time. Tony Benheisen during the administration of former Governor Dennis Dugard, the administration of Kristi Noem, a member of the state legislature now, and now lieutenant governor. So congratulations to Tony Benheisen. And He said, I've had the privilege of working closely with three excellent lieutenant governors, Dennis Dugard and Matt Michaels and Larry Roden. They're all here today. The job of lieutenant governor is to be a supporter and a partner to the governor. You can't be ready to step in if you aren't a partner. I'm excited to help Governor Roden lead our state, he said. Also, while we're talking about the state legislature, the South Dakota Senate voted yesterday very narrowly, 18-17, to advance a bill that would require posting and teaching the 10 Commandments in South Dakota schools. And we're going to talk about that coming up this morning. In fact, I've already asked that question for those of you who follow me on Facebook. How do you feel about it? Is that a step in the right direction? How do you see it? So we'll talk about that coming up this morning. So now it's on to the House of Representatives. But again, a very close vote in the state Senate, 18-17 yesterday. So now it goes to the South Dakota House, and not only posting the 10 Commandments, but the teaching of the 10 Commandments. And we'll get your thoughts on it today on the Greg Belfrage Show. Thanks for starting your day with us. It's 6:27. What is the temperature? Clear skies, 38. News update on the way here at Kello.
Camp and Robbins, weekdays at 2. Kello, News Talk 1320, 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, the Give You More Tire and Automotive Store.
I served almost 6 years in the Army.
10 years, great years in the Navy.
And I joined the Marines in 2016. I was a senior in high school.
My family really wants to be settled in one place.
I got so much experience in technical training in the Army. Now I want to turn that into a civilian career, but I still want to serve.
Also, the benefits are so important to us.
I'm ready to go to college now. I want to give back too.
Get the best of both worlds in the South Dakota Army National Guard. Serve your country and your community part-time while you live your life as a full-time citizen soldier. With 60 units in over 100 occupations in South Dakota, you and your family can stay grounded, close to home. Keep the benefits going.
Okay.
You're 20. Maybe take on the new MOS and gain extra skills.
I joined the Guard because I still feel a sense of duty.
The word Army is still going to be on my uniform, but now I get to add the patch of the state I live in.
Visit nationalguard.com/SD to learn more. Sponsored by the South Dakota Army National Guard, aired by the South Dakota Broadcasters Association and this station.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30.
I got an email from Steve here. He watched the Robert F. Kennedy hearing yesterday. He said, I watched most of it. He's skeptical, but the way the Democrats were going after him, making Steve laugh, and I understand why.
Why choose the Sleep Number Smart Bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does
Okay.
that. It goes up to 8 times faster. And lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
Weather brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Partly cloudy skies today in the Sioux Falls area, warming up to 55 with a west wind at 5 to 15 miles per hour. For tonight, low temperature 25. Tomorrow, just a few degrees cooler with a north breeze, a high at 42, and temperatures returning to the upper 40s on.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, clear skies, 38 currently at Kello. Fox News Radio coming up, the latest on that crash of that American Airlines jet and that military chopper. That's a big story this morning. So we'll get you the latest. Then we'll look at stories that are trending. Belf's News Gallery on the way here at Kello.
Fox News Alert, I'm Gianna Gelosi. Search and rescue operations happening now in Washington, D.C., where crews are searching for any survivors of the aircraft collision that happened near Reagan National Airport.
Just before 9 p.m. last night, American Airlines, this is what we know, a jet with 64 people aboard, including the crew, collided with that U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter with 3 soldiers on board, including both pilots. That airliner was attempting to land on runway 33 at Reagan National Airport.
That's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson in Alexandria, Virginia. Several U.S. figure skaters and coaches were on the American Airlines flight, returning from a figure skating camp in Wichita, Kansas. Flights grounded at the airport until at least 11 a.m. Israeli military saying 7 hostages have been transferred by the Red Cross to Israeli forces inside Gaza after another hostage was released earlier today. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Nominated by Governor Roden, Sioux Falls Representative Tony Venhuizen is set to be South Dakota's next lieutenant governor. Venhuizen had previously served as chief of staff for Governors Dugard and Nome. Now he's returning to Pierre to be part of the Roden administration.
The job of the lieutenant governor is to be a supporter and a partner to the governor. You can't be ready to step in if you're not a partner. I'm excited to help Governor Roden lead our state.
Serving his second term, Venhuizen resigned his representative seat yesterday to make way for his new role. The full Senate will vote on his confirmation today. He was a visionary, an innovator, and a builder. Sioux Falls developer Craig Lloyd passed away yesterday morning. He and his wife Pat co-founded Lloyd Companies back in 1972. Their work can be seen throughout the state, including developments in Sioux Falls like the new Steel District, uptown at Falls Park, and numerous apartment complexes. Craig Lloyd was 76. 4 city officials up in Baltic recently resigned from office during a city council meeting, including the mayor, Deborah McIsaac. Now interim mayor Brian McCreevy said he was surprised by the resignations. McIsaac says the walkout happened after some council members circumvented city officials in a legal matter. Starbucks is planning to cut around 30% of its menu options by the end of the year. It's part of the coffee chain's efforts to stop losing customers after 4 straight quarters of dipping sales. The current menu has been criticized for being a bit overwhelming for customers and employees. The chain is also hoping to streamline the ordering process, aiming for drinks to take no longer than 4 minutes to deliver. No word yet on which items will be cut. And in sports, after a 2-week road trip, the Sioux Falls Stampede are back on home ice. Tonight, the Herd hosts the Waterloo Blackhawks for the first time this season. The puck drops at 7. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Mostly sunny skies today with a high temperature at 55. West winds at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Forecast tonight, low temperature 25 with that light north wind. Tomorrow, a few degrees cooler with a high at 42. North breeze 5 to 10. We're back in the upper 40s on Saturday. That's your weather update from the Storm Center at Kennelland TV. I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
Hot under the collar? Hot for an argument? Keep it on the Sioux Empire's interesting news talk station. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The more we discover about China's new DeepSeek AI, it's obvious. China lies. Without the United States, DeepSeek would not exist. I'm Kim Commando for LinkedIn Jobs. Post a job for free and find qualified candidates quickly at linkedin.com/Kim. China's DeepSeek created worldwide chaos. NVIDIA, the company that makes the world's most advanced AI chips, saw its stock plummet $600 billion, even though DeepSeek was created using NVIDIA's chips. DeepSeek is not the breakthrough China claims. It wasn't created for just $5.5 million either. China has been secretly working on it for 2 full years and has spent more than $500 million. That $5.5 million they talked about, that was the cost of programming it to look like ChatGPT. My advice, stay away from DeepSeek. It collects your data every time you use it. And as for America, stop selling our chips to China. Always stay tech ahead with my free newsletter. Sign up now at getkim.com. As a small business owner, you don't have the luxury of clocking out early. Your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that grinds just as hard as you do. That hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. Their new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people. Either post your job for free or pay to promote. Promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified applicants. At the end of the day, the most important thing to your small business is the quality of candidates. And with LinkedIn, you can feel confident that you're getting the best. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Find your next trade hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Kim. That's linkedin.com/Kim to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Do it today. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Kim.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is sponsored by Tires, with 2 locations to make sure you have the proper traction this winter.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen Picture and Combination Windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today. ABC Seamless.
As we were raising our 4 kids, we always looked for the best deal to save money. This is Jim and Janet with Empire Insurance. If you haven't shopped for new insurance rates recently, give us a call.
We work with lots of companies.
Okay.
The lowest prices on insurance for your home, farm, car, and more. EmpireInsuranceAgency.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Identity Theft Awareness Week is here. There's a victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. 3 seconds. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second and will fix identity theft guaranteed or your money back. Plus, plans include the $1 million protection package with up to $3 million in coverage for the most comprehensive plan. Take control of your identity with LifeLock. Save up to 40% off your first year with my name, Clay, as the promo code at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Winter in South Dakota is one big question mark.
What's it going to be like today?
How bad are the roads?
Will I be able to wrestle my kid into those snow pants?
Get most of the answers you want with up-to-the-minute forecasts and the latest road conditions on Kello News Talk.
.638, clear skies, 38 currently at Kello this morning. Wow, what a change from a few weeks ago, huh? Excuse me. Really a nice morning. Great to have you along. Let's dive back into the news, see what's happening.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
These are the stories that are trending this morning. And as you might suspect, that crash of that helicopter and an American Airlines jet at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport last evening is the big story this morning. So there was a massive search and rescue effort underway following this. This began last evening, and the White House was right on it and saying that Donald Trump was aware of the situation, calling it tragic. Trump released a statement later saying, "I've been fully briefed on the terrible accident which just took place," he said. "May God bless their souls. Thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I'm monitoring the situation. We'll provide more details as they arise." That's just again, prayers with everyone involved there. It's just heartbreaking to see accidents like that unfold. Excuse me, coughing a little bit here this morning. Okay, also this morning, ceremony at the White House yesterday, Donald Trump signed into law the Laken-Riley bill, the Laken-Riley Act. And you'll remember Laken Riley. She was the 22-year-old Georgia nursing student killed in February of last year by an illegal alien. So this bill now law, Donald Trump signing it yesterday, requires federal officials to arrest non-citizens accused of violent and theft-related crimes. And so Laken Riley's mother, Allison Phillips, was there. And she thanked Donald Trump for keeping his promises. She said, our family will forever be grateful for the prayers of the people across our nation and for helping to get this legislation into law. We also want to thank President Trump for the promises he made to us. He said he would secure our borders and that he would never forget about Laken. And then she began to break down. But she described Trump as a man of his word. She said, we trust that he will fight for the American people. Most importantly, I want to thank our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without his sacrifices, Laken's story would have ended on that horrific day that she was taken from us. But because of him, we can continue living knowing that we will see Laken again. I mean, this is just really tugs at your heartstrings. She said, there's no amount of change that will ever bring back our precious Laken. Our hope moving forward is that her life saves lives. Pretty incredible. Also, a lot of confusion over the spending freeze that Donald Trump had put in place. Didn't last long. So Trump yesterday talking about this, defending his temporary freeze on federal grants and loans. He said it stopped condoms for Hamas and other waste. And this was after his aides then rolled back a memo to agencies in order to end any confusion. And then Trump accused the media of distorting and misrepresenting the freeze, which he said never impacted entitlements such as Medicare and Social Security. And he said there was a short-term pause or funding freeze on certain discretionary spending payments such as government grants, only for us to quickly look at the scams, dishonesty, waste, and abuse that's taken place in our government for so long. So Trump made those comments at the signing of the Laken Riley Act. Other stories trending this morning. Pam Bondi, who was Donald Trump's choice for Attorney General. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted yesterday to favorably report Pam Bondi's nomination for the U.S. Attorney General. So that now moves to the full Senate, and it's expected then later this week. Bondi made a name for herself in Florida, cracking down on drug trafficking, violent crime, and the pill mills that were operating in Florida. She also spent 18 years as a prosecutor for one of the county state's attorney's office. So she got plenty of experience. And Fox News says that Bondi expected to see a glide path to confirmation ahead of the vote. Also, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, set to become the first foreign leader to meet with Donald Trump during his second term. So the White House confirmed to NBC News that Trump had extended an invitation to Netanyahu and that Netanyahu had accepted. So they'll be meeting on February 4th. That's coming up next week, February 4th. And Trump said in the letter to Netanyahu, I look forward to discussing how we can bring peace to Israel and its neighbors and efforts to counter our shared adversaries, Trump said. And I tried to see if there was anything further that he had said at this point. Doesn't appear to be. So Netanyahu meeting with Trump at the White House next week. The Federal Reserve yesterday afternoon saying that it will leave interest rates unchanged. They say there's uncertainty about inflation and economic conditions, so the Fed holding interest rates steady. And the benchmark federal funds rate currently is at a range of 4.25 to 4.5%. That follows 3 consecutive interest rate cuts. And it'll stay there for the time being. The Justice Department has fired over a dozen officials who were part of former special counsel Jack Smith's teams that prosecuted Donald Trump. This story is still trending. I have shared this with you previously. So the Department of Justice now under new leadership, dropping its, in addition to that, they're dropping their repeal of the classified documents case against his co-defendants. So not only against Donald Trump, but these co-defendants that were facing charges along with Trump. You're seeing all of that changing. It was a fiery day for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday in front of the his Donald Trump's choice for Health and Human Services. And he had his first day of confirmation hearings yesterday. I got an email from Steve. I welcome your emails. You can email me anytime. greg.belfrage@kelo.com is my email address. So Steve's saying, I watched most of the hearing yesterday. And he says, I'm skeptical of Kennedy. He's a Kennedy, and they, as a rule, cannot be trusted. But I'm willing to give the man a fair shake and listen to what he has to say. The Democrats didn't cover themselves in glory yesterday with their questioning of him. Lots of slamming fists on desks. Yeah, there was. And right out yelling at the man, I think especially Bernie Sanders, who seemed to have a loose grip. I mean, Bernie Sanders always has a loose grip on reality, I think. So, but he says, you combine this, he's talking now about the anger of the Democrats, combine that with how Kennedy speaks, and it almost sounded like they were bullying a mentally challenged person. And he says, he's certainly not that, but it sounds like it. He does have trouble speaking. I appreciate that. He says the questions they were asking him were at best not important to him doing the job. Bernie Sanders asking him if he supported these onesies was comedy gold. I'll be curious to see if they tone it down today because the Democrats looked like fools yesterday, even more so than usual, Steve says. Wow. So Kennedy will be back. Today will be the second day of hearings. And I'm not sure what time those resume today, but back at it again today. Also, Donald Trump signed an executive order yesterday directing all federal agencies to look into deporting anti-Semitic resident aliens, including those who hold student visas and broke U.S. law. So Trump pushing back in this. We've seen this on college campuses. Donald Trump pushing back against this. And forgive me, this story doesn't have a lot of comments actually from Trump. But he talked about it. So these folks, these anti-Jewish protesters who were committing crimes, following the October 7th terror attack and all of that, Donald Trump looking into deporting these anti-Semitic resident aliens. And he also plans to sign an order then prohibiting federal funding to schools that teach critical race theory or radical gender ideology. It's about time we push back against all that nonsense. The U.S. Senate voted yesterday to confirm New York Representative Lee Zeldin. He's the new administrator of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. And Zeldin said, through the EPA, we have the ability to pursue energy dominance, to be able to make the United States the artificial intelligence capital of the world, to bring back American jobs to the auto industry, and so much more. So Lee Zeldin was confirmed. I shared this story with you yesterday. It's trending this morning. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announcing he is immediately pulling Mark Milley's personal security detail and security clearance. Potentially, he may lose a star. Also trending this morning, a ringleader, a violent one, with Tren de Aragua, was nabbed on Tuesday in one of those pre-dawn raids in New York City. So 25-year-old man taken into custody as part of the Trump administration's immigration raids into New York City. So he was caught by heavily armed Homeland Security investigations officers. They stormed an apartment building in the Bronx in the early hours. They were out there like at 3 a.m. 3 and 4 a.m. is when they began conducting these raids. So he was part of a group of armed Tren de Aragua gang members who were caught on camera forcing their way into that apartment in Aurora, Colorado last year. You may remember that. OpenAI has announced that they have uncovered evidence that the Chinese artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek, been a lot of attention about DeepSeek. And OpenAI is saying that DeepSeek used some of their proprietary models for training purposes and so on. And they did so without permission. So Microsoft investigating AI security risks and saying there's pretty substantial evidence that, in other words, the Chinese stole from Microsoft in creating DeepSeek. This is what OpenAI is suggesting. Also, a Massachusetts man this week charged with bringing incendiary devices into the Capitol building. This happened on Tuesday. He brought 2 Molotov cocktails to Capitol Hill in an attempt to harm or kill influential members of Congress, as well as members of Donald Trump's cabinet. This guy, his name is Ryan English. He turned himself in to Capitol Police on Monday. He had knives, 2 Molotov cocktails, a number of other things. He was intending to target the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Said he was originally planning to target House Speaker Mike Johnson or Pete Hegseth, then changed his plan upon learning of Bessent's confirmation vote. So another nut, thankfully, being caught before he could bring harm to others. You know, it's one thing to disagree. It's another thing to undertake that kind of lunacy. Hamas says they plan to release 3 Israeli hostages today, 2 women and an 80-year-old man, as well as 5 Thai nationals that were abducted. The hostage families for them said they'd received news that Hamas would release the 8 people abducted. Also, this is pretty wild. Have you heard of Boom Supersonics XB-1 aircraft? It has broke the sound barrier for the first time ever this week. And this is incredible because it's the first time a civilian aircraft has broken the sound barrier. So we've had military flights that have been doing it for a long time. So we've had military flights capable of doing it. First time a civilian aircraft has exceeded Mach 1. And this was, it took off from Mojave Air and Spaceport in California for its 12th test flight. And it marked the first time the aircraft was at 34,000 feet, and the first time it had ever exceeded Mach 1. So pretty big development. And that's a look at the stories that are trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. 6:57, clear skies, 38, and you're listening to Kello.
Entertaining talk, great talk radio stars.
Well, thank you, my friend, for letting me join you. You've got a standing invitation to join me at 9:30 for the 4th hour on Facebook and here on YouTube. So I'll say so long until then. Have a great day.
With your Medicare options, whether you're new to Medicare, just aging in, or been on Medicare for some